I got to unmute myself. I get too excited to get in the room. Good to see you this morning. We are jumping on live to continue the Fast Forward Your Future event. I'm moving to standing up because it's going to be a powerful day today. Good to see you. Jump in and let me know who's here live. We're going to get started here in just a second. I would love to know from those of you who are jumping in now what you took away from last week. What brought you forward from last week? What was your takeaway? What patterns did you remove? How did you start to shift things? I'm seeing so many of you start to move the needle on creating a year's worth of goals in 67 days and flipping that pattern into removing the pattern. We talked about money mindset last week. We talked about building a 67-day year. I hope you brought your post-it notes because we're going to dive into that. But as we're getting started, I'd love to know in the chat, what is the big thing that you really shifted you? A lot of you have jumped into the 67-day year. This week, doors closed. Doors close on Thursday at midnight. You're going to want to make sure you get in the room. And if you just jumped in, somebody's like, I just found out about this event. I'm just getting in. Don't worry. We've got all of the replays for you from last week in two different places. You can be either in the group in the Unleashed Entrepreneur Facebook group. They're all pinned up top, or you can go to 67dayreplay.com and just start watching those live trainings that really transformed people's lives. So I'm going to take a look at what you guys are saying. We're going to dive deeper into Step Dar today. So I hear you there. Good to see you all live. The biggest shift, Ellery's saying, is that thinking about what I get to do instead of what I have to do. That has been a game changer for my daily energy. Yeah, absolutely. And she's like, let's hear it. Who said yes to 67-day year? I'm so excited. So yes, I am so thrilled for each of you as you're jumping into the 67-day year and you're moving the needle. You're done with the emotion of I'll try it by myself. You're done with the conversation that I'm going to keep doing it in the ways that I've always done it and expect something to shift. You also learn that it's not your fault. So let me dive in. I'm so excited. We have a big winner announcement today. So I'm going to do that at the very, very end. I'm so excited for so many of you that have been using the weekend and this week, of course, as well, to rewatch the videos or watch them for the first time, to jump into the group. And I'm going to give a kudos to Nicholas going full out. Nicholas, if you're here, really building out and not just taking this as information, but seeing this, the 67-day year method and the neuro coach model as the thing that you were missing and why all of it isn't working. Okay. So I want you to know what you've done so far. So those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is what you get to go back and connect with. So we talked through and you developed your own meaningful goals, not somebody else's goals or some marketer's goals, but your meaningful goals. We also determined the patterns that were blocking your success, personal to you. And we talked about the mind matrix on Friday and how simple it is to start to shake loose those old patterns that you didn't even create. Most of them, as you know, were inherited. 90% of them are inherited patterns. There is some that were infiltrated, but majority are inherited. And so they're not even your patterns. And so you learned how we can literally remove them. I mean, talking like goodbye imposter syndrome, goodbye feeling like a procrastinator, goodbye feeling overwhelmed, goodbye feeling like you're not sure why. All those limitations are based on patterns of the past that are informing the present. And you have a vision and a dream for the future, right? Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but we're going to dive back into that in here in a minute. You've learned through the 67-day year what a mountain is, that big, epic, audacious goal, and how to break it down into boulders that your brain will believe, right? We went from your brain in overwhelm. How am I going to do it? Not knowing, unsure, lack of clarity, lack of confidence, to now down to one boulder that we'll do together over the next 67 days in 67-day year. And we talked also, and you learn how money mindset blocks, because let's just be real, if we're growing a business we are going to be asking for money. And if we have a belief about money that does not serve what our goals, our dreams, our vision is, if we do not unhook from our poverty scarcity mindset and build a pathway toward abundance, build a pathway toward $1 million mindset. Brought Sarah in to talk about that a little bit too. So the money mindset blocks and how to radically remove those blocks and patterns. So put money, if that was a super, super powerful training for you. And then of course, tomorrow I'm going to be doing the financial freedom workshop, which is kind of part 2 of that. We also talked about that part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, this part, remember how I had to do this, that doesn't fully develop till you're 21 years old. So those patterns of your parents and patterns of your past are the automations of the present, running 90% of your daily decisions and therefore actions and therefore results. And here's the greatest news of all. Through the neurocoaching model, STEP-DAR, the mind matrix brain priming, you actually can unhook from those patterns of the past and build a pathway to the place that you want to go, your future, your dream. So you learn the neurocoach model. We'll talk through a little bit more of STEP-DAR and mind matrix, and we're going to be diving into brain priming today. You also learn that your subconscious, that automation that's running 90% of your decisions and actions, cannot be tricked, cannot be outperformed, and it's running 90% of your business. That is why you need to be in 67-day year. Go to 67dayyear.com and get in, because all of the things that you're going to do Q2 rely on thinking and not having those patterns anymore. Rely on thinking is the future and not being hooked to the patterns of the past, because those patterns of the past are your foot on the brake. And building a brain prime toward your future, and so your brain can believe it so that you can see it, is your foot on the gas, right? So I know your foot's on the gas all the time, but if your foot's on the brake at the exact same time, what happens? You start to spin, right? So you learned, and this is what I love sharing, is that you can 100% move the limitations, the patterns that have been holding you back, and gain speed. Why? In the 67-day year program, because you're taking your foot off the brake. And through the matrix, so simply done. I'd like to make it more complicated, but your brain is an actual very much a repetition system. And so through the STEP-DAR, we're able to reverse engineer that and literally go in and jackhammer up the patterns of the past so they no longer run. Can I get an amen for that? Who is ready to ditch those patterns for good? Say ditch those patterns in the chat, right? And you also heard some stories from Alex, from Beth, from Rihanna around what their process has been like. Now they're coaching for me now, but they've started right where you are. And I'm just curious in the chat, who was here live or watched the replay with them and really connected with their story, really connected with like who you were, right? I see all of you. I was fun. Ditch those patterns, ditch those patterns. I'm getting those amen for the patterns. So I'd love it if you were here live with us for, I noticed my camera's really, really high, so I got to move me down a little bit. I'm so excited. I had to like stand up quickly. Alex is the one that was in burnout, and she was trying to do all the things, but she knew like her thinking wasn't there, and she was feeling like she had to give up, and she didn't. And now she's speaking on stages. Rihanna was our physical therapist that ended up literally unhooking from a deep pattern and building a business that is now, who in here would love like 12 incredible clients like within a couple weeks? That's how fast it can move. And of course, Beth's story as well, when she's talking about, just not having the confidence, not believing, and staying in that pattern. Do you see how it's just a merry-go-round? And unfortunately, it's like the Hotel California merry-go-round that never goes, you never get off. And so you try to do different strategies while you're still on that merry-go-round, and you're like, why isn't it working? And then the next thing that happens is you start telling yourself, why isn't it working for me? And then the thing that happens after that is you tell yourself, well, it must just be me. Something is broken. I just can't figure this out. And I hope this last week and this week, as we wrap up on Thursday, you start to see Number one, it wasn't your fault. Number two, you're using an old broken method that's meant to create employees. So you got to stop that. You can't use old methods and expect them to work. And your brain is a system that allows you to build belief before you see it so that your brain will allow it. And without it, you're going to have your foot firmly planted on the brake at the same time. And do you get some momentum with your foot on the brake at the same time? Sometimes, but it's not a comfortable ride and ultimately ends up making you spin out. So good to see all of you jumping on live. I'm so excited about that. So that's what you've been through. Think about that. Like, you've done so much. And today I've got 3 big nuggets for you today. First of all, we're going to talk deeper about how the brain allows belief and eliminates lies. Now, you're going to hear me start to shift my energy around patterns and limitations to lies. Because tell me in the chat, is a pattern, a limiting belief, a blind spot, is it truly going to bring you, is it truth? So is it going to bring you to where you want to go? Or is it a lie that literally is keeping you connected to the past? So I want to know, are these limitations, these patterns that we rely on sometimes, are they lies? Because that's the language I'm going to start using. And that's the language I'm going to use in 67-day year. Because if you have a pattern that's a lie and it's running 90% of your daily decisions, now we get to get a little bit indignant. Now we get to get a little bit angry. Like, not on my watch. You're not going to take out my future, my dream, my calling, my vision, the things that God put me on this earth to do. I'm a little fired up right now. These are lies. Now, again, your family of origin could be the best, could have been the most horrible, could have been somewhere in between. We are not snorkeling back in, but what I am telling you is the patterns of your parents and the patterns of your past are on autopilot, running 90% of your decisions. We've got to eliminate the lies that do not support your future. Can I get an amen on that? We're going to dive deep into that today. So I'm just making sure you're with me. I'm making sure you're with me. What lies, if you know that they're lies? You know that they're lies. You're so tired of hearing, I'm an overwhelmed, being served to you again and again, that I don't know, that I'm not sure, that who should do this? Like, nobody's going to listen to me. What do I have to offer? I'm going to keep telling you the stories because they are lies. And through the NeuroCoach model, the mind matrix specifically, we get to eliminate those lies. We get to renew our mind and do the things that keeps it. Yeah, evil kids, that's exactly it. And evil comes to steal and destroy your calling. And so those patterns, they protected you. You didn't know. You're trying to get love, worthiness, enoughness in your environment of origin. And you figured out a way to agree with the pattern so that you would get those things. Now your prefrontal cortex is an adult. Say, I'm an adult. I'm running my business. And I no longer hook to lies. I hook to the future and I hook to truth. And that's what we do in 67-day year. So you've got to get in the room. And if you do nothing else but unhook from the lies that have kept you captive from the calling, that releases the calling, that releases the anointing, that releases the impact. People will be magnetized to you and buying from you because you have no longer enrolled in lies. You are now enrolled in the future. All right, so that's number one. Number two, we're going to finish up your 67-day year map. That's what we need these for. We're going to be diving into that. We're going to take it from a boulder to rocks today and really get you clarity. And then, of course, together in 67-day year, we're going to go even deeper with that. And we're going to do it side by side with you. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to teach your brain to believe what you want in the future as safe, and to eliminate those patterns and make those patterns unsafe. Remember, our brain's job is just to keep you safe. It's to keep you alive. No tigers eating you, safe, alive. I'm pretty sure safe and alive is not on your vision board. Safe and alive was probably not what you wrote in January 1st, 2023. Tell me in the chat, is safe and alive your goal? Or is changing people's lives, changing the legacy of your family, building a business that takes you and gets you financial freedom? Tell me in the chat, which one of those is it? Are you tied to the patterns? Or are you tied to the future? Tell me in the chat. I got to get some water here. I'm so fired up for you today. All right, I keep popping back and forth between my notes because I'm saying the ladder. All right, and that, like, I'm gonna go ahead and ask one of my coaches to go ahead and put the link for 67-day year in the chat so that as you're here, you can make sure you join. Like I said, the doors close on Thursday. Friday morning, we are taking all our energy and 100% moving it toward everyone who has joined the program that's ready to remove the blocks that and I know here's what's happening. It's like, will this work for me? That's why I brought some people on. We got some incredible people coming in on Wednesday that literally just finished 67-day year and accomplished their boulders. And they're going to share their stories. And I'm sure you're going to find that really amazing on Wednesday. Tomorrow's the financial freedom workshop. And then on Thursday, we're going to wrap up together myself and Rex Crane. If you don't know who he is, he's going to be talking about really unhooking from those limitations once and for all. So let's move into how does the brain allow belief and how does it eliminate lies? Here's what I want to ask. Did you learn that in school? Tell me in the chat. Say, yes, I learned it in school, or I did not learn that in school. Now, if you're just joining me for the first time, we talk a lot because this training is for you. My heart is for you. And so I want to know, did you learn how the brain allows belief? Because you learned last week that your brain needs to believe it for you to see it. But your brain does not need to see it for you to believe it. And that's what we're going to push into right now. But did you learn in school how the brain allows belief and how to eliminate lies when they come up in your thinking process? Tell me in the chat. I did not learn that from school. Nope. Did not learn that from school. Did not learn that from school. I did not. Isn't that crazy pants? Crazy pants. Like, we are the creator of our thoughts, and our thoughts create our future. 90% of the repeated thoughts actually govern our decision making. Now, if you think about the STEBDAR that you learned, which is how your brain creates belief, we talked about situations being neutral. So I'm not going to go back into that because we did a whole training around that. Remember, entrepreneur A, entrepreneur B, they're thinking it was the same situation, but the situation was the same, but their thought about it was different. That's the T in STEBDAR. And from the thought, we know this from science now, we can scan the brain, see the thought center of the brain fire, then the emotional center of the brain fire. So thoughts create emotions. That's the T and E in STEBDAR. This is the repetition system of your brain. The B is for belief. So what I'm telling you right now is thoughts combined with emotions repeated enough, ironically, about 67 days. That's when your brain, if I gave your brain a voice, it would be saying right at about 21, it starts to say, I think she believes this. I think he believes this. And what that means to the brain is, all right, brain, we need to start throwing chemicals to automate this thought. She believes it. He believes it. Let's start throwing neurochemicals at this place to make it go to the subconscious. And at 67 days, that repeated thought and emotion packet becomes a hardwired subconscious belief and goes into that part of our brain that fires, boom, that was very cheerleading, but fires without your thinking brain engaging. What? Yeah. Your thinking brain does not engage when there's an automated thought pattern that is in subconscious. That's the B line, is belief. It fires without your knowledge or permission 90% of the time on your decisions, actions, and therefore results. That's the D, the A, and the R in STEBDAR. Situation creates your thoughts and emotions. Repeated enough becomes a belief. From that belief, 90% of your decisions, actions, and results. Yet we go around trying to chase strategies and tactics to fix problems when that belief will continue to repeat 90% of the time the result that you do not want. That is why we created 67-day year. Yes, I'm going to show you how to get to a year's worth of goals in 67 days. That is absolute. You're going to learn that with the brain prime. But I need to speak from the heart. I don't want to see you in bondage anymore. I knew what happened when I was no longer in bondage. Now I'm a girl. I'm a Jesus girl. Christ set me free. not a model or a method, but Christ created this. Science proves it out. This is how the brain creates a pattern of belief. Why do you think in scripture it says so much about what you think about? You think on what is good, true, pure, lovely. Renew the mind. Keep renewing the mind. Think on this. Do not think on this. It's not a bunch of rules. It's literally a roadmap to how to train your brain. And I discovered it in the scientific rooms, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the thing running everything that I think about, because it's firing the thought without my knowledge or permission. Tell me in the chat, do you want to be in control of what your brain fires? Do you want to be in control? See, I want to be in control of what your brain decides and therefore takes action on, and therefore the results that you get. Do you want to be in control of that system? Tell me in the chat. I hope so. I hope so. I really do, because normally entrepreneurs, we tend to be control freaks anyway. That's part, we're very unemployable for the most part, because we love to solve problems and help people. But it's vital that we're done letting the automations of the past, of our parents, of the process that we were growing up under, that are automated there now, continue to run the show. So that alone is why you should be in the 67-day year program. It's the heart of what I do. Now, what comes from that when you take the foot off the brake and you follow this 67-day year method is creating a year's worth of goals in 67 days. Why? Why does that work so fast? I hope you've been asking that the whole time. Maybe that's why you haven't jumped in yet. That's not possible. Well, when you take your foot off the brakes and your limitations are no longer running 90% of your day, how fast do you think you get to your goals? When you no longer believe overwhelm, when you no longer believe lack of confidence, when you no longer are hooked to being stuck, when you no longer are in perfectionism and procrastination because you've literally removed them from your brain. Tell me how fast do you think your goals start to get accomplished? Tell me in the chat, right? Okay, so how do we go about it? So my question was that I wanted to train on today is, how does the brain allow belief? Repetition is how your brain allows belief. Well, if it's that simple, I'll just go do it on my own, Shannon. I'll repeat the right thoughts. Well, that's part of the problem, because part of the problem is you can't see the patterns, because you are so wicked smart. If you could see the patterns, you would see the pattern and go, I don't like that pattern. I'm going to try to repeat something different. People say, is this affirmation? Is this? No. That's like a dim mirror. This is literally going in through the mind matrix. Now I'm going to tell you the mind matrix again. There's just 4 simple steps to it. We talked about it in the money mindset training, but it's really just recognizing, first of all, what it is. That's why you need to be no longer lone wolfing. That's why you need to be in the room with these incredibly trained coaches, because recognizing it is the first step of getting rid of it. I can tell you, you do not have imposter syndrome. There is another story under that onion layer that is actually connected to the stories of the past that is triggering that for you. So we've got to recognize it. And if it's not called a blind spot because you can see it, right? That's why lone wolfing it needs to end, and getting coached in this way is so powerful. All right. So number 2, record. You need to then, you need to record it, which is actually writing it down. So you recognize it, you record it, and then you refute it. You get your lawyer's hat on, you expose it for the lie that it is. And that's part of the work that we do in the coaching calls, is help you walk through that. We dive into it right away in the intensive, and I'll talk about that intensive here in a minute. Why is this so important? It's taking your foot off the brake. And then the last step is rewire. And that leads me to what I believe I'm a chocolate girl. Let me pause right here. I'm going to say the chocolate on top. Are you a chocolate or a vanilla? Tell me in the chat. Are you a chocolate person or a vanilla person? I need to know where my people at. Like chocolate, vanilla. I like vanilla. I love chocolate, but I'm good. I love my daughter is a vanilla person, and I'm like, it's all good. So chocolate or vanilla? I need to know in the chat. But it's and I love you both. I love you both. So I love it. But see, here's the thing. What comes out of the mind matrix in the neurocoach model is the path for your brain to demolish your limitations. So we do two types of what we call brain priming. I developed this when I was inside my research and I saw, some of you heard me tell the story about the piano players and the athletes where they would come into the lab during my research and we would help them repeat. Remember, our brain is a system of repetition. So we would bring a group in that had never played piano before, and we could scan their brain to know there was no learned memory of piano, right? Because if you had learned memory, a different center of the brain would fire. So we scan their brain before, and then we would do what we call repetition training, where we would repeat so often, visualizing where the keys are, putting your hands on the keys, and that kind of thing. And we did it for 67 straight days. Why? At 21 days, the new path and the old path are identical. That's why you might be on a diet for 21 days, exercising for 21 days. And at 21 days, you feel like you got it. And then you stop doing the patterns that are helping the repetition. And then the old pattern wins because it's the deeper groove. So that's why, if you've ever wondered why on earth do I do it for 3 weeks and it never finishes? That's why. So it's 67 days. We scan their brains again and we see complete learned knowledge of the scales of the piano. And then here's the test, right? We put them on the piano and they play the scales perfectly, having never touched the piano. This is teaching your brain to believe it before you see it. Same thing with an athlete that I got to work with. He was an Olympic swimmer. I cannot speak his name. We worked with his coach. There was a stroke initiation that he wanted to add because he was 0.2 of a second from first place. They couldn't quite get it. And so they agreed to come in and work with us with this repetition system and scanned his brain just like we did the pianos people, and no learned memory of this stroke initiation. If I have swimmers, you know what I'm talking about. I am not, so I did not understand what an initiation, but evidently it's like how you trigger a stroke in the pool, specific stroke. And so we also measured this athlete's muscle mass in a small twitch muscle, I guess, that would need to grow in order for this initiation of the stroke to work. And so we saw the muscle mass in that area. And then we did the same thing. With his coach, we helped do a repetition system that I'm going to teach you I now call brain priming. Then they would stop short of a few things that we do that really I think are the magic sauce. End of 67 days, measured his brain connectivity, learned knowledge. It's in there. Okay, we expected that from the piano studies. We scanned the small twitch muscle. Here's the thing that still blows my mind to this day. That muscle, that small twitch muscle, and athletes, you know what I'm talking about, versus the big muscles, they're smaller connective muscles that help support, grew 99%. Never stepped in the pool. 99% muscle growth, never stepped in the pool. It was that research that made me go, oh my gosh, like we really have to hack this system for us, for our kinds of people who are changing the world. That athlete did go on to do very, very well. But this is the pattern of brain priming. It's building a pathway toward where you want to go. So we call this the vision brain prime, because what do we do mostly? We say, I want this, I want that, right? We sat down in January with the old broken goal setting system and you said, I have a goal to create 10 new clients or whatever you wrote down. Those are all telling your brain it's not here now, it's in the future. That puts your brain on a high alert of a threat and makes it really hard to attain. You're actually working against how your brain allows results. That was an aha for someone, because you've done that year after year, done all the things that everybody told you, writing them down. Then you've had your foot on the brake with all these patterns, but yet you feel like you take a step forward, 2 steps back, and then you start blaming yourself. It's never been your fault. The stories of the past aren't your fault. Neither is using an old broken system, right? So we build a vision brain prime. Very specific way. We do it inside 67-day year, where you build a brain prime for your mind that teaches your brain to believe it so you will see it. and it's in a totally different context than anything you've ever done before. We also do what we call a truth prime, because we agree that the old patterns are lies. You all said they were lies, right? So we need the truth because the truth sets you free, right? So we take and create a truth prime in a very specific way through the mind matrix. I've kind of showed you the overall how to on a high level, the overall what is it, but we dive deep and get so close to the truth and then prime that in to where the old pattern looks like the threat to your brain, and then your brain wants to eliminate it. This is the secret sauce. And here's the greatest news of all. You join 67-day year, you unhook from the patterns, and you build a brain prime, and then you work with us through the 67-day year model. You hit the boulder that first 67 days. You will not want to leave the community after 67 days. We have almost 100% renewal over and over again, because the support you get in the walk, moving the patterns out of the way, building the primes. When you get to the next level, you'll create a next level prime. And when you get to the next level, you'll get to it, you just keep growing. Imagine, now I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not going to say you don't hit problems. In fact, hitting problems is one of the sweet things about being in the program, because no longer problems don't take you out. Problems catapult you forward. Can I get an amen for that? All right. So that's exactly this system of why, like, what does the brain allow belief and how does it eliminate lies? And we deep dive into that. Some of you have been asking this question. Tell me about the intensive. This is why I do the intensive the way I do. I believe you're smart. I do. I believe you wouldn't have been hanging out with me for the last week and this week if you were not. I believe you are very wickedly smart. And I believe you do not need 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 4 weeks to sit and watch video after video after video after video, learning more information. Can I get like who is right? I'm tired of info. If you're just like, you feel like you're on information overload. Like, you're so smart. You do not need to be spoon fed. You can get these concepts and learn everything fast. And so as I was meeting with my coaches, I'm like, I want to teach them everything in like 3-day container. And in that 3-day container, they learn everything about the 67-day year model. So they create a year's worth of goals in 67 days. They learn everything about the NeuroCoach model so that they move the patterns out of the way. Because remember, if those patterns don't move, no, neither do you. Right? And so we do this 3-day intensive. This is how it's going to look. I'm going to kick the thing off on the 11th. We're going to have like a pep rally. Get ready to go. And then we will have intensive day 1. Then you'll have a day in between. I think you have actually a weekend in between. And then you'll have intensive day 2. There'll be a day in between. Intensive day 3. You know everything. You're not going to be focusing in. Now it's going to be a repetition game, working with building your brain's success pattern brain prime, your vision brain prime, your truth brain prime, and taking the steps that I'm about to teach you today in the 67-day year. This is what creates speed and gets you unstuck. Yeah, who's not tired of info, right? And that's why in this training, I really wanted to get you shifted. Not give you more information, but get you shifted so that you can see not only what wasn't working, that it wasn't your fault, that there is a process, that you did not learn it in school and you can learn it now fast. And then we can pace with you for 67 days so that you take the steps necessary, that when you get in a moment where the lies start creeping in, that we can help you move it forward again and we get you accelerating. Y'all, I'm going to speak permission to speak very candidly right now. Very candidly. Tell me in the chat, say, give me permission, because I might offend some of you right now. I may or may not. Some of you are like, heck yeah, girl, but like, give me permission, because I'm always like, I need to make sure it's okay if I go here for you. All right, I'm getting permission, so I'm going to do it. Some of you are on the fence right now because you don't trust yourself. And some of you are in a position where you've been burned before. You've had people promise things and they didn't deliver it. Let's just be real. I'm sick of that too. I think, well, I'm not going to go left, but I do think that there should be like marketing jail for people, like the serious marketing jails for they say all the things and then it doesn't happen. This is the deal. If you walk away from these trainings and you don't join 67-day year, it's like literally putting a stake in the sand saying, I'm going to believe the lies and I don't believe my future matters. And I am not saying that to be cutie marketing. I am saying that from the deepest bottom of my heart because your yes to joining 67-day year is not a yes to us. It's a yes to you being done with the patterns that have kept you stuck. And aren't you freaking frustrated of those lies by now? Aren't you tired of the liar speaking the lies in your ears, telling you're not worth it, telling that you don't belong, telling you that nobody will listen to you, telling you that you don't have it right, telling you these things? I'm sorry, I'm really fired up. It's time to cut the shackles off and to say, I'm going to try to do it alone now. Now you can't unhear what your brain does. Now you can't unhear those things. And I hope you take it to heart because listen, if you do the work, that's why I do a show the work guarantee. I don't guarantee anything who's going to come in and expect people to do the work for them. But those who do the work, we have 100% success rate. That's why I bring people to you so that you can hear the stories. I get it. I've been burned by marketing. You've been burned by marketing. Thank you for those testimonies that are flying in the chat. Here's the thing. I don't think most of you, I know I never had, have experienced someone championing your vision as much as your desires of your heart. Let me say that a different way. I want you to experience what it's like to be in a room, to get the method that helps take off the patterns and the limitations, build that success pathway in your brains, flip that success switch on. Otherwise, your brain's not going to allow it. It's going to see your success as a threat, right? So we take you through that. You've never experienced, I know I hadn't, where myself and my coaches come alongside you and we actually care about your vision. We care about your legacy. We care about the generational shift that you want to create, your God-given calling as much and sometimes more than you do. And I just want you to experience your full true potential and stop believing the liar that has programmed the patterns that is keeping you playing small when you know your calling is big, when you know that you're meant for just great, you know the potential that you have not tapped yet, but you believe the liar that's repeated. And remember, autopilot is an incredible thing and you didn't learn it in school. So now you get to tap into the power that's available when you unhook from the stories of the past, unhook the lies and move to the forward. This is the thing. That's why I want you in 67-day year, because when the shackles are off, when your foot moves from the brake and you see what you're capable of. Now, Wednesday, you're going to hear some of these stories. Everything changes. I say this a lot. I'm getting choked up because I'm a parent too. You know, when your kids are like 12 and above, they don't necessarily, they know everything you think. And they start really watching what you do. And it dawned on me when my son turned 12, he's now 15. And I said, if I don't show him what's possible by my actions, and that means I got to stop believing and playing small, I got to step into the biggest of the big version of me, step into this version of me. That scared me to death. Anybody else scared to death of the vision they see behind their eyes? But they feel so propelled to it because they know it's not for them, it's for others. They're watching what you do, not what you say at this point. And whether it's an auntie or uncle, a spouse, a friend, you are supposed to be not the best kept secret. All right, I'm going to get off the platform here. And like, I know I just want to reach through the camera and just say this, I'm going to ask you to borrow my belief in you. Because I know after time, when you get in that scenario, you start to doubt your decision making. You just have never been taught how to trust your intuition, because it's been an outside in model from school. We talked about that last week. Ask for permission. I need to go to the bathroom. It should not mean I need to raise my hand. I know I need to go. Ask for grades to validate who you are. We're still seeking that outside permission and validation. But in this program, that's one of the biggest things I'll see shift in people as they start to trust their decision making, trust who they are, trust their calling, and step into it. And that's what you need to join 67 Day Year. All right, sorry, off the platform. I'm going to come back. All right, let's break down the last piece of your 67 Day Year map, shall we? Are you ready? So now I want you to load up in your mind your one boulder. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, you're like, what the heck is a boulder? Remember, the replay page is there for you, 67dayreplay.com. Do not miss going through this. You've got a few days before we close the doors. But like I said, Thursday midnight, doors are closed. So you've taken your mountain down to a bunch of boulders down to one boulder. And if you're in an indecision around one boulder, we'll help you in that in 67 Day Year. So don't worry. Don't feel like but pick one for this exercise. Because what your brain starts to do, especially with the old broken method, is it just like when I was standing at the bottom of that Mount Whitney and looking up and looking how steep it looked and it seemed so big, your brain starts to see it as a threat. We've now taken it down from that level down to, okay, there's a lot to do, down to, okay, one boulder. And I'm not going to focus on the other things. I'm going to focus on the one boulder for 67 days. That's what we do in 67 Day Year. So now we've got to move one of the biggest kryptonites to entrepreneurship. Do you want to know what it is? And I gave you a hint at it earlier last week. It's the language of the brain. It's the language of the brain. It's clarity. What's the thing that takes you out most of the time? I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to do that. And then it takes us off and we go off doing other things, working on other lists, taking care of other things to feel busy, because lack of clarity and lack of confidence. Clarity creates the confidence. When we're clear and we know what to do, we can be confident and walk in it, right? Who here, just write clarity if that has been a big kryptonite for you. And if the flip side of that coin, which is confidence, has been a kryptonite for you, I'd love for you to write that as well. I just really would love to see that in here. So clarity. I just want to see, is it more like I need to know what to do? So, because I'll follow it. If I know what to do, I'll do it. Or is it the confidence that comes from clarity that's kind of kept you a little bit there? So lots of clarities. Both. Anybody both? Right? Like clarity. And then Stephanie's like, both. Yes, can I get both? Can you see? Because they're connected. So this is so important. And that's a core piece of the 67 Day Year. So what do we do? Well, I did ask those of you who've been with me for the last week to brainstorm over the weekend, right? Brainstorm off that one boulder. What are a couple things you would need to do? So I'm going to ask you to, if you brought these, great. If not, do it on a piece of paper. But in the 67 Day Year, we're going to be using this. I want you to just write down 10 things. Don't do hundreds. We'll do those together in 67 Day Year. But what are 10 things that you need to do that you know of right now? That's the greatest news of all. You don't need to know everything. You just need to brainstorm and start doing what we're going to teach next. So what are 10 things? Take a minute. I'm going to take a drink. What are 10 things you would need to do? For example, if my big boulder was, I'm going to start a podcast, because that's how I'm going to build my audience. I'm going to start a podcast and I will build an audience, and from there I will make offers. So my boulder is start a podcast. And these are rocks. We call these rocks. So some of my rocks might be, so I might write down on one, I need to buy podcasting equipment. Can't podcast without a podcast equipment. I need a mic. I need those things. So purchase things. Another one would be the software needed to do the podcast. Okay. So you get the idea. What are the things? Just 10. I don't want you going deeper than 10 in this environment, but what are 10 things that you would need to do? We call these rocks. What are 10 rocks that would, as we combine them, would create this boulder, right? And I'd love to know in the chat, what are some of them? And as you're writing those 10 things, watch what your brain serves you. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's why you need to be in the room, because this is the momentum and clarity that you get. But here's the thing. For now, I want you to trust the intuition, your God-given intuition. Just sit for a second and write, and let's just maybe even do 3. Maybe 10's a big chunk. We'll do more of them. 3 to 10 things you must do in order to accomplish your boulder. So if it's a podcast, I'm like, I got to get equipment. I've got to get software. I need to develop my name, right? And watch, Tara, your brain just served you that. So your brain served you, I have no idea. This has been how your brain has taken you out. Okay, so I need to figure out how to get clients. And if you're, we teach something in our certification called the Coach Launch Formula. But there's this crazy thing about being present online that actually attracts clients to you. So brainstorm, what are some, so I'm assuming you don't have a boulder at this point. So if your boulder is get clients, we need to know, like, okay, so I'm going to get clients by, and you're going to just choose something. See, this is the thing that takes so many people out. We're looking for the perfect answer. Now, if you're a coach, I would say get certified so that you can go through that specific formula. Nicholas, like creating my podcast page. Great. What else? Post or go live. Okay, that's one. A brain dump on 7 topics to move me. Jessica, awesome. Review Coach Launch Formula. She's in our tribe, so she knows. Break them down into pebbles. Do what Coach Launch Formula says. I love that so much. And by the way, the roadmap for Coach Launch Formula, Tara, is in the bonuses for 67 Day. That's why I put that roadmap in there so you could see on a high level what that is so that you can gain clients. So maybe for you, Tara, it's join 67 Day year and follow that specific thing to get your clients, right? So Kimberly is saying my boulders, find my audience and monetize it. Love that. Sorry. And number 1, find my niche. Now, did I not tell you that that's why all of the bonuses are like a 6-figure business in a box? Why? Because I know you're going to need them. So do you know, Kimberly, in the bonuses is the Uncover Your Niche workshop. So that would be one of your rocks would be what? Yeah, I know, Tara. I'm so excited for you. Is so one of my, I'm going to really encourage you, Kimberly, to watch that training as soon as it goes into your there. So write, post, comment. So you've got this. Okay, so you're getting in there, going live. So you're getting it. So why do I want you to do it here? Because what's going to happen is, and we're going to do this together in the intensive, you're going to just really brainstorm as many as you have. And then you're going to start putting them up on the wall. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You get the idea. And then you're going to notice, well, wait a minute. These go together. These are kind of similar. And like this is something over here. And you're going to notice what I call categories. So you're like, okay, this is like this category. This is this category. You get the idea. So what happens when you start to do this? I feel it's like you enter a magical land. Because at first your brain's going to want to serve you overwhelm. But that's why you're in the room, because we're going to do it beside you. And magically, as you start to brainstorm these rocks, and it's like, well, what if I forget something? Okay, so you forgot something, and then all of a sudden it appeared to you, and you write it on the Post-it, and now it just goes there. It's okay. See, you give your brain permission to not have all the answers, and what happens is now you have every single exact step, and you start to kind of categorize them. And now you have all that you need, complete clarity. Now your brain loves this because what your brain stops doing is it stops serving you. I don't know how, I don't know what, I don't know who, I don't know. It's, well, okay, I just need, thank you, that did it in advance. I just need to take these 3. Now, we get these so detailed. You won't do this live with me here because that's what we're going to do together, where each of these Post-its, or if you're doing electronically, that's fine. We just like this because at the end of the year, you could, or 67 days, you can see how much you've done. Each of these shouldn't be more than a 30-minute task, 10 to 30 minutes. So as we're in the program, we'll be helping you see, oh, that one's a little bit longer. And then what we do is as simple as taking 3 off of our list and doing them every day. Shannon, come on. See, your brain doesn't put you in overwhelm. Now, here's the thing. These need to come before this because this is everybody else's priorities. Yes, this is yours. And we start to create the neurochemicals that our brain loves because the clarity is the language of the brain. So now the brain is like, oh, I just have to do these 3 things today. Now, here's what ends up happening. What ends up happening is you take your 3 and you do them. And you're like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. I've moved the needle today. Awesome. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to go celebrate. Now, that's a component that we teach inside, and it's neurochemically based, and I won't deep dive into that. But here's what happens for most of us high performers. Where are my high performers at? My people who are busy, my people who are go-getters, my people who are on the move all the time. You're telling people you're busy, you're energetically busy, you love being in motion, you love that energy. Say that's me if that's you in the chat. Okay? Tell me that's me. Because what will happen if you're like that, or even if you're not, you're going to be like, okay, I did 3. That's all I'm going to do today. That doesn't feel like a whole lot. Yeah, you move the needle more than you have in the last year in the first day, right? Because your brain has clarity, because it's no longer fighting you and we're moving those limitations at the same time, right? And so here's what happens. You go, you know what? I'll take one more. Like, I've gotten everything done. I've gone over and helped other things, and maybe I'll grab one more. You don't have to, but you can. And so what ends up happening is remember the laws of inertia, the body in motion stays in motion, and there's no force put upon it because there's clarity. There's not lack of confidence, because when you're this clear, then there's no longer that dread feeling. You know what I'm talking about? That dread feeling where you're like, I just don't know. And that's why we're in a room full of 6 and 7 figure business owners in this room. So if you don't know, there's a who that does. That's why lone wolfing it is not going to get you there. So I'm really telling you the high level of the 67-day year, but really the one thing I want you to take away is this system puts your brain in safety mode. And when your brain's in safety mode, it allows focus and clarity. Those are neurochemicals, by the way. And when your brain allows focus and clarity, you gain massive momentum towards your goals. I'm just curious, anybody in the chat that has been through 67-day year, how freeing, or just write the word freeing, do you feel when you don't have to wonder or guess what to do to move your goals forward? I'm not sure who's here and who's not here, but yeah, you get out of the fight or flight, you get out of the struggle, out of the thing that your brain is serving you to keep you safe, right? You don't lone wolf it. So that is the map. The map starts from a mountain to a boulders, plural, to that one boulder that we will conquer in these next 67 days, down to the exact rocks, which gives you complete clarity. Do you start to see? Tell me fast if you start to see how fast this can go. Like, we had somebody over the last week together get 3 new clients because they did this and really started to apply it. We had another person get 37 new group members. We had another person get 100 new email addresses on their email lists. The complete clarity. Do you see when you know where to go and you're showing your brain exactly what you need to do to get there, and you're not getting distracted and you're removing the patterns at the same time? I'm going to keep coming back to that. Do you see how fast? Do you see how much speed can start to take over? Say fast if you can start to see how fast it can go, right? And I want to tell a story. I don't know anybody basketball fans. Obviously, we're in the Final Four, March Madness stuff right now, and I reminded me of a story. Kobe Bryant, the GOAT, right, was interviewed, and somebody asked him, why are you, like, what creates your confidence? I mean, you step on the court and you just slay it each and every time. Like, maybe that's not exactly what they said, but like, where does that come from, your confidence? And he looked at this interviewer kind of perplexed. And he kind of sat like I am. He looked down and he went, I don't know how to answer that question. He said, confidence? comes from the reps. Confidence comes because I'm there 2 hours before anybody else, because I'm making sure that I'm doing the reps. And what he's not realizing is, as he's saying, my confidence came from the reps. It's because he showed his brain so much more frequently than other people that he created competence. He goes, it's not confidence that I have when I step on the court. It is competence. Competence creates confidence. Because when you're clear on where you're going and you know exactly the steps to take and you're doing the reps, you have competence. And that competence allows him and will allow you to walk on the court of your life and not be taken out. It creates an identity from the reps that your success is inevitable. This consistency of the 67-day year creates the speed, and it allows you to go from your potential power, your potential purpose, and your potential ability to actually accessing, to rising to it, to letting your passion and your power and your calling get to the top. It really, I like to say it this way, it allows you to access all of you. It flips the success switch on in your brain. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Remove the limitations, create the reps through the 67-day year, complete clarity. You leave finally saying, I'm done with the I don't know what to do. And that right there is worth the price of admission. It takes your foot off the brake, right? So you want to go to 67dayyear.com and join. Okay, so I just want you to think about the identity that comes when you have massive acceleration because you've accomplished that goal in 67 days. And there's a magic that comes when you show your brain you can. And you're not alone. It's step by step. Can I get an amen for step by step? Like knowing how to remove a limiting belief step by step. Honestly, that is where the origin of the model came from. And that's why it's there for you. And really, the promise or the main focus of the program itself is one goal, one boulder, 67 days, done. And the lies are gone too. So that's why you want to go to 67dayyear.com and join. Okay, so let's talk about what's up for the rest of the week. That's what's up for the rest of the week. So tomorrow, Financial Freedom Workshop. Who's excited for the Financial Freedom Workshop? This is kind of the part 2 to the money mindset training that we did last week. So put financial freedom if you're excited about that. So Financial Freedom Workshops tomorrow, 12 p.m., same time. And then on Wednesday, I'm bringing on past clients that just wrapped up their 67-day year. They're going to tell their stories. I'm just going to get a chance to love on them, interview them, cheer them on, and let you hear their stories. And then on Thursday, I'll be back as well as Rex Crane, and we will be doing our last training on finally removing limitations and stepping into your true potential. That's Thursday. Now, remember, if you're just joining me for the first time, or if you haven't really watched all the trainings and you decided to jump on live with me today, take the time over the next 2 days or so and go and watch the replays. They're in the Unleashed Entrepreneur Facebook group up top, all pinned, as well as in the replay page, which is 67dayreplay.com. Doors close on Thursday. Make sure you are in the room. And I know tomorrow I'm going to be announcing, I'm just curious. Let me ask you guys this. Who here is like, they know the economy is moving fast, so you want to create your own economy, and you know AI is going to play a role, and you feel like, I don't get it, I don't understand it, and I know I need to, but I'm not sure how I can use AI to help accelerate my business. So write AI if that is something you would like to learn about. Not learn the whole thing that's available to you, but learn the things that will move the needle for you in your business. Put AI, because this is something I'm using a lot, and I know what to use and what not to use to drive more leads, more people on my email list, more specific, intimate results. And it's not just ChatGPT. That's great, but it's like, how do we, like, great, now I'm in ChatGPT, now I'm in Jasper, but what do I do and how do, okay, so a lot of you. All right, So my team's going to love me. But when I see that you have that need, I'm like, okay. So I'm going to add a bonus. It's probably not there yet, but I will add a workshop as a bonus to this program on building and growing your business through AI, what to avoid and what to start using now in order to not be left behind in this AI generation. If that would be a powerful bonus, which I think it will based on what everybody is saying, it's dominating us. Don't trust it. So how do we look at it and use what does work and avoid the things that are not trustworthy? I love that that you brought that up, Nicholas. Super important. I've done a lot of research. I've worked with two people that are at the head of this in the online marketing space. And so I know the pitfalls, I know the ones that you absolutely shouldn't use, and I know the ones that you absolutely should be using to help find your perfect person and helping them get into your world. And so you can really help them. And so we'll add that. I'm going to call that the Entrepreneur AI Workshop. And that will be an additional bonus that I'm going to add in to the 67-day year. And by the way, some of you might have heard about this, but we used to have a program called the Epic Success Academy. And it was a very much a leadership development program. It had some of the elements of 67-day, but nowhere near what we do now. But it's definitely focused on self-leadership, how to lead yourself, how to lead a business, how to lead a team, and how to become that best version of you as a leader. That was a $3,000 program. $3,000 program. Thank you, Rihanna. That $3,000 program is also a bonus that gets released to you when you finish 67-day year. So why do I do this? Because I believe in your vision as much, or maybe even more at times than you do. And I want you to borrow my belief and give you all the tools that you need to get to see the vision behind your eyes in real life. All right, so join 67dayyear.com. I will see you back here 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, where we'll be hitting day 2 this week, which is the Financial Freedom Workshop. Love you guys. Pulling for you. Can't wait to see you in 67-day year. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.